He stood there, at the dry wind's mercy, gazing down, down, down through the hazy lift of light smog to the busy crowd below, and their finely detailed faces formed a spiritually drab tapestry of boredom and depression. To a man ignored by mortality and time, no single face had any more meaning than the other. The vampire, Adrianus, new leader of the people of the dark, is what they used to call him. Maybe those were the days that the immortal looked around them and longed for the simplicity of life, in its intense flavor and blissfully short span. Maybe they knew something that mortals didn't, something they never wanted to know. He who walks the eternal road walks alone. His true name was Adrianus Lucius, but he went under assumed names and titles every half-century to pull a veil over the image of his immortality. Of course, that also meant moving to remain an unknown face, but he returned to his manor in Rome occasionally. Much had changed around him over the centuries in the form of electronics, vehicles, buildings, trends, populations, but all little more than bothersome noise to him. He remembered little of his human life before being turned, but this place, this towering ruin of age-stained stone, dragged memories from his soul of long-lost happiness. It alone provided him with comfort and a sense of belonging in his first few centuries of immortality. However, he who walks the eternal road walks alone. Now even this humble abode, left dead and alone, offered him no escape from the unforgiving masses, offered him no return to peace and livelihood. The stones themselves had forgotten his touch, cold and clammy beneath his palms as he leaned on the balcony ledge, coated with an uncomfortable dust and thicker filth that blackened his skin. Those beneath his leather soles made the sound of sandpaper and the slide of wet tile. Dust coated everything in a very unwelcoming manner, and yet clung to his overcoat as if pulling him in, begging him to stay. As he stood there, he remembered the view he used to enjoy. The view of the auburn sunset behind the small surrounding houses, fading the light of day to candlelight in the windows. He loved the feel of the crisp night air that embraced him and lightly cooled the silk within his robe. In the early evening, he could smell bread baking and the burning tobacco and pipes of the old men that sat and talked each day on the bench not too far away. Those were the best memories that he could still recall, and they would soon fade with the rest. The power of vampirism once thrilled him, but it had become a heavy, drilling burden. Obviously, it brought joy only to the pureblood. He used to look down on humanity as ants, insignificant specks of food that lasted no longer than the blink of an eye. He was a god among men, but not worshipped as such. It brought nothing but lonely emptiness. At this point, he'd rather end it himself than live it another day. He turned back in the old bedroom to escape the loathsome sight of the city, but it offered him no more comfort. The walls were crumbled and uneven, and the decorative carpets were faded and thin. The chandelier that hung above the bed grew lackluster and chipped beyond repair. The wooden shelves in the corner of the room and the door near there were flimsy and barely supported their own weight anymore. as depressing as the sight was, he had no intent to dwell on it long. He drew down a small wooden box from atop the flimsy shelf. A golden crest that represented his clan of the past bolted to the top. Removing the top, a red-stained crystal dagger with silver-decorated hilt that bore the mark of the skull added an anomaly of shine to the room. It was the Dagger of Eternal Scar, a cursed dagger handed down to him from the great necromancer of his clan, Marcus of the Fallen Petals. It was forged from the crystal of blood, a rare ore found in the mountain near their stronghold, alleged stained with the blood of Death, the legendary vampiric mage. This crystal would bring death even to those who knew not an end. The wounds it inflicted would never heal. How ironic, he thought, that I should end my lifeless life with a weapon awarded to me for ending the lives of others. How ironic that I might end my curse with a curse. Taking the dagger in hand, he continued back through the hallway, and the dagger reflected the light of the torches he lit upon his arrival. The hallway turned into passing a dining hall, decorated and centered around a lengthy table with several decorative chairs, cabinets on the left side of the room containing fine china and crystal goblets. The room was dark, with few surrounding windows facing west, no torches or candles, and a black marble floor that reflected no light, coated with the same dust as on the tiles in the bedroom. Very fitting for an event of such morbidity. He stepped over to the china cabinet, the fine glass coated with an even finer dust to the point where it wasn't clearly transparent anymore. It served its purpose, though, as the delicate dishware within remained glistening, reminiscent of its early days of use. Still, even such a well-preserved set of inanimate objects was just that, inanimate. They added no life to the abandoned building. He opened the cabinet door with a loud click and high-pitched creak, taking hold of one of the crystal goblets within. Its decorative etchings embraced his sensitive touch, and reminded him of the night that destined the house to be lonely. It was the night of his only lover's death, the death of Emma Lamont.